Welcome back to the Telos of Tech podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Series finale! We've completed the year! Series 5 is done!
It has been a long time, and we have been working incredibly hard on this series. We are extremely proud to announce that this is the finale of Series 5, which means that within the next 4 to 6 weeks, you will see a brand new Telosive podcast series. And here it is.
When we sat down to do the new intro, we wanted to bring something familiar.
Holy crap, Randy, we have to do a new intro.
Yeah.
Can we hire Love From? Is that in the budget?
Yes. You know, let me check with the producers here. I think we can fit that in.
You know what's crazy is right before we got started, this is our most productive season so far. We just tallied up. We put out a lot of episodes this year.
I mean, I remember being a lot of work, but I also remember having to look at your ugly face, Randy.
Nah, well, you suck, Nick.
It was exactly 54 times that I had to look at your ugly face this year.
And
54 episodes.
That's crazy.
How many podcasts can say that?
54 episodes in 1 year. I mean, we're what?
In a year.
Almost 180.
Yeah, in a single year.
No, we are. I would venture and even self-gloat for a second. We are a veteran in this space because we have the numbers to prove it, and we.
Thank you for your service, Randy.
I see what you did there.
I got to do the math. You keep going, but I want to see if another year we did more, possibly.
Possibly. Okay. Well, I mean, we came into this collectively. The three of us as a team. We said we wanted to really lock in on our content for doing at least these podcasts. And right from the beginning of January, we were a well-oiled machine. We were locked in, loaded, and ready to go. And we've done more than an episode a week statistically, if we do those numbers, because we didn't miss a recap. We've done so much. We didn't
take breaks. Well, each of us took vacations here and there, but usually not all at the same time.
But the show kept going.
We did 51 episodes in 2020, so not as many.
Close.
So
now through 2019.
2019, 2018, and 2017 are all going to be less than 2020, Drew. So don't even bother doing the math.
He wants to know.
I'm just curious now.
He wants to know.
I just want to know.
2 episodes in it.
Yeah, what's cool about you like you said, Nick, the show kept going this year. I like the fact that we are able to kind of make this bigger than a singular one of us thing. That it can. The show itself can.
Me too.
Can cover.
We've had
stand on its own merits.
amazing co-hosts this year. We've had Mike and Scott. And this guy named Marcus Marquez.
That's right.
No,
that was this year.
He filled in 1 week.
I think Keith.
Technically, his first appearance on the podcast.
Finally, took him long enough.
Last time we collabed, neither of us had a podcast.
That?
This is true.
Last time you collabed,
he was just looking at our success.
That was 4 sets ago. Last time you collaborated last time you collaborated was 4 sets ago.
How many offices? Yeah. How many offices have I gone through?
I am including the interim of the place you were staying at after you moved out of the office too as one of the sets. So so if you count this one here now, the one before that one, 2X, and then you had 1X. Or I forget what you call that. I forget what you call that one.
Newport.
And then you had the attic. Yeah. So
I'm still convinced based on Nick's joke that if we do another top secret project, it's going to be called Project New Office. It's a secret. You don't know what it's going to be.
And then it's a
secret. Very secret.
I just think about that's what it's like. I wonder what it could be.
I wonder. So let me know your ideas.
New office.
That'll be the great subversion. It's not a new office. It'll be something else. But I'll just call it. I'll call it.
I got a new camera. Yay!
I'm gonna do something so lackluster, and it's just gonna be like, I bought new shirts. I'm wearing new underwear, and you can't tell.
And I really hope I can't tell, Randy. And I don't want to be.
Don't lie. Just because we're don't lie. You don't.
We'll start selling NFTs. That's
it.
Yes, there you go.
We're gonna mint this moment in time.
Okay, hold
a
the phone.
non-fungible token. We're not doing this today. No, we're not doing this today. We're not doing this today.
People are buying it for
Can we explain
hundreds
it
of
to Nick?
thousands of
I can
dollars,
explain
and I'm just like,
a non-fungible token.
I think Randy and I
if I
disagree
take
on
my Starship
NFTs.
picture,
I
and
think
put
we
it on
disagree.
the Ethereum network, then I can get
If
paid
you
a
take
lot
a
of money.
photo, if you take a photo of whatever you own, you can sell it. Yeah, we disagree on it, Drew. I think I have a better understanding of it because it's not that much different than making music in the sense that when I mint, in the equivalent of minting something, that when I publish something that is streaming, you guys can, if you want to download it, can download it, and you can also steal it, and I can't stop either of those from happening. But there is a difference that, like, if you went to my Bandcamp page and you just bought my single, you get extra stuff that comes with it that I couldn't do when you steal my song, download it from streaming, or effectively if you don't pay for it. So
But I don't own the rights to the song if I buy it.
You don't own the rights to the art either on an NFT.
Exactly.
There is a royalty that goes back to the artist or
Which
the
is
creator
why it's
of that.
stupid.
What's stupid?
Because you don't own anything, really. You own a receipt.
You own a version of it, but that's because we are in Gen 1 of NFTs. I guess we're talking about this. So NFTs, Gen 1 is kind of like how meme culture was, Gen 1 meme culture that were really lackluster, and now we've gone pretty intricate with like memes. It's the first version of something that's never the best version, and it's going to improve over time. I don't think buying an animated picture or a GIF or a screenshot of Jack Dorsey's first tweet, those are people throwing out there seeing what's thick. In my brain, I imagine when you buy an NFT, it's the equivalent of you buying, and I saw this as an example, and I actually agree with it. You buy like a movie ticket. You're gonna go watch No Way Home, and you buy the NFT
screenshot of Jack's first tweet, just on
loop
as a gift.
That's just people who are bored. But when you buy something that actually has value that can roll over to something else because it unlocks something for you. Imagine you buy a movie ticket, say like No Way Home, and you get a deleted scene that only you get to see. And what you choose to do with that scene afterwards, if you want to post it online or whatever, is up to you. But you get a snippet of some behind the scenes. You get, like, they can do that type of technology. So now it's a collectible item in that sense. So there's ways that it can evolve over time, and we're not there yet, and that's fine. And I wouldn't tell anybody to buy an NFT now. I'm not interested in making one. I'm not interested in buying one.
Buy all of my NFTs.
You could just buy my music on Bandcamp.com/Randy Vasquez.
Nic fungible token.
Yeah, you could buy my token that's just as good as a token because you get, I don't know. Anyway,
We'll give you one thumbs up.
Nick's fun Taylosive podcast.
NFTP.
NFTP.
Doesn't that mean not safe for work?
No, that's NSF. Wait, I work for them.
I think it's...
You're so
I
close.
saw a thread about it where it's going to turn into person A buys NFT from the distributor for $1,000, sells it to person B for $10,000, who then sells it to person C for $100,000, and then person C never finds a buyer willing to pay more than $1,000 because they got built up on the hype train, and they were like, oh, this is going to be valuable, this is going to keep going up, and then basically you have your pyramid situation where the first three people made a lot of money, but then the last person gets screwed.
Yeah, I would never, if I ever went into the NFT space, like as the copyright owner of something, I would never sell it for hundreds or whatever. I sell my things for 99 cents now. Like, I would do something equivalent to something like that. I would be very practical because I'm not trying to get rich. I'm trying to build an experience that breaks the fourth wall. And NFTs are an example of being something closer to breaking a fourth wall of my one-dimensional version of me that people see. I would not turn around to sell. I don't buy something so I can turn around and sell it, says the guy who owns a lot of stocks. But
Stock's different.
Stocks are
I
different.
think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Those are logical and can be easily
nothing in the
replicated.
crypto space right now
is for a small piece of the company. That's what a stock is, and an NFT is you own a receipt for a piece of unique art. I really don't see a difference there.
The stock you can get paid for.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't say it's unique.
Oh, it's totally unique.
I don't think the art is unique. I think if it can only be displayed on a pixelated display, whether or not it has a token attached to it or doesn't, I just don't see the same thing that happens with music or the same thing that happens with movies happening to JPEGs.
They've done it with AR. I've seen AR NFTs out there, and that's their collection of it. What you're doing
still
also
just a file, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, but most of our money is also digital in the same sense, and where you're going at with collecting, if it's just the digital world, people who are buying these NFTs on different platforms, what you're effectively doing in this generation is you're betting on that horse. That I think this is the platform that's going to get bigger, and that's why I would not bet on it personally. I'm not betting on any of them.
They're all going to get screwed. I think they're all going to spend a crap ton of money on it and then find out no one wants these things in a few years.
I fear that because it's all tied to the blockchain and it's all tied to this, it's now becoming to the point where it's too big to fail now that government's getting involved. And because it's too big to fail, I do think something's going to succeed. I don't think it's a version of what we're seeing today, but I think now that governments are involved, we are inevitably going to see too big to fail surface again. And
I don't think they're that involved, though.
They're involved
There's
enough
still
that...
not much...
Go ahead.
There's still not much like regulation involved with like crypto pumping, which I think might change in the future as more and more governments see big Twitter officials or big accounts saying like, hey, let's all buy this crypto, or we're going to buy a bunch of this crypto, so we're going to support this, and it sends the value way up, and we have regulations about that with stock and pumping up stocks with insider information, but we haven't really had anything regarding crypto, which they might later if they decide that this is a easy way for big people to make a ton of money off of everyday folk, or I think that our government moves, for good and bad, very slowly.
Yes,
and they haven't figured much out with how to regulate this, and I wouldn't be shocked, given how disconnected they are from a lot of situations, if they just start going like, we've decided that we're only going to support one crypto, and it's called the U.S. official coin, and no other coin can work here.
Yeah,
and then that would just tank everything else, and everyone goes, oh crap. Now buy this coin, I guess.
And now in that sense, people who got in that coin early on, that's the people betting on that horse that was going to win. And we're
basically the government can influence, but not everyone else.
That it. Yeah,
we can manipulate.
I think we're going to get to the point where something like that does happen, where you kind of see a version of that in the free market happening now. Not all crypto exchanges are equal in what coins they support. And the most notable one, and the one that I don't even use, I hate these guys, but Robinhood took so long to get Doge.
He does.
When everybody was like,
ladies and gentlemen,
Doge is blown up, and then Robinhood's like, hey, now we're supporting. It's like, that ship sailed, man. Like, we're not doing Doge anymore. And but they're like, well, we only support these limited coins, and so you see kind of this regulations on some of them that are centralized, and then you got the decentralized platforms that will do any and all things, and that's wild west territory out there. But that's how it was in the 90s with the internet anyway. I remember seeing how first, like what they dub 1.0 web 1.0 was effectively a read-only version. You go on AOL.com and they would boot up, and you would just get these things that were almost like encyclopedias in the sense that these were just read-only articles that you could do. And then 2.0 happened around early 2000s, like 2004, when MySpace and Napster and all these other things put up, and now you can engage with the sites, and then those sites became user-based at the cost of trading your information, your privacy, and that was the trade-off that we did. Arguably, they're saying now what would be Web 3.0 is to do away with you trading your privacy, for the sense that these 3, 4, 5 big companies don't own everything. You as an individual person owns this portion of it. If you were to be a part of that blockchain, which people are saying it's supposed to be Ethereum, it's supposed to be Tezos is blah 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 blah. There's all this. It's the multiverse for online, blockchains. So how do you regulate the multiverse?
References in this
We need Thanos.
Scooby Doo this crap.
I can't.
Yeah, I would not bet money on it. That's for sure.
It's fun to watch though. Like it is legitimately.
It is hilarious
and
to
I'm
watch.
really happy for anyone who makes it big in crypto and like the people posting their W's. I'm happy for them. It's exciting, but at the same time,
we don't lose anything by making a Talos of T NFT and see what bites. Put it out there.
maybe
It's
the
literally
Series
an
6 intro is going to be an NFT.
And you can only watch the intro.
That
if
way
you
we
buy
can
the
afford
NFT.
$1 million.
love from. That's how we're
I'll
going to
set
afford
the
love
price.
from here. We're going to get Johnny to do the intro voiceover via this NFT. That's what's going to happen here.
That's it.
$1 million.
$1
That's my
million.
price.
What's with these high prices? I'm over here like, $5, and you guys $1 million. I was like, oh.
Well, part of the problem is
gotta
you
be
have
rare.
to use Ethereum to mint an NFT, and so you
No.
have to use like, I don't know, some. When
don't
I was
have to
looking
use
it up, it was
Ethereum.
about $80 worth of Ethereum to mint an NFT.
There's other platforms. Ethereum is the most noticeable one because it's
Yeah.
the most
Well,
popular,
that's
but
where I'd
it's
rather
not the
be.
only one.
But yeah.
No, there's more. There's other ones.
Let
Tezos is
Randy
another
handle
one.
that.
I study
chief
it
of
because
tokens.
it's very interesting. I don't own these tokens. I don't own any of that stuff. Like I'm a boring. I got some Bitcoin and some Ethereum, and I got one stable coin because it is backed. It's pegged to the U.S. dollar. So I'm like, all right, I'll see what happens. But I'm not putting anything in it that I'm not willing to lose anyway. So I'm a boring guy. I'm not.
That's a good way of
I'm
investing in crypto.
Yeah, no, it's too volatile.
Be ready to lose it all.
I'll study it from afar, and I want to understand why it's so trendy. Besides, people posting their big jackpot, because it's like lottery playing right now. People are just posting their wins on these 1 in a millions, and they think and it's kind of manipulating in the moment, but then it dies out. So I actively go out of my way to study this phenomenon to know why it is. We know what's happening, but if we don't understand why it's happening, and I go a step further of understanding how it's being done, then I'm just more educated. That doesn't mean just because you do extensive research. Dude, I've studied so much Android stuff, and I will never own an Android phone, I got you guys though. I made you think I did, but same thing. You can study something for so long, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be an active participant. I'm going to be a passive observer. So, yeah.
Me, it's like watching a train train crash, basically. Like, let's see where this goes. Sounds fun.
Ooh. I would take like the funds that if it was going to go towards like a Chick-fil-A or whatever Nick used as an example, I would put that and allocate it towards, let's see what happens with this Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, and kind of see what happens. But I don't get hung up on the hypothetical numbers that they show. Every website does it too, that they'll show this, like you could invest here and you can 5x this and 9x that, and I'm like, yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Sounds legit.
But it's not. It
sounds believable.
That's just as volatile as the coins themselves. So, yeah, I don't know. Crypto.com buying that stadium thing. Just this is all marketing, but remember Beats being marketed so heavily didn't make it a good headphone. It just made it a known headphone. But some people say it's good enough. Like Beats headphones are good enough for them, but objectively did not make it a good headphone, but everybody was using them. I kind of see like that happening in the crypto space now, that we're all talking about it, but some of them are just the Beats equivalent of you throwing your money at something that's like, that could have been better spent somewhere else.
Yeah. I've definitely talked about it with lots of people. I've never met anyone that was interested in buying any, but they all talk about how dumb it feels. No, NFTs in general. I know lots of people that are like, what is that? How does that work? And I explain it.
Like, you have to go to the Apple Store website and put in your credit card number. Like, jeez.
It's so much.
Yeah.
Very complex. But speaking of Apple, was it a good year, you think?
Yes.
Was this a decent year for
Welcome to
Apple?
the annual recap, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time for
No,
recap.
it was terrible. Nick was disappointed in almost everything.
You didn't like the iMac
Actually,
or the
I forgot
AirTags?
that was this year, huh? Okay, what came
Yeah.
out this year? We better recap that first. It started with the iMac.
We
yeah?
had our first 420 event. That was awesome. Aside from the iMac, we had macOS Monterey, which is still not delivered on its best feature on December 17th. We had 120 hertz find its way on the iPhone. We had the Siri 7 prove everyone wrong. We had iPad Mini finally make its theatrical debut. What do you call it? It had screen time, which the last Mini did not.
So did AirPods.
And there's not that. Oh, that's right. The first time AirPods had a on-stage presence since 2016. Yeah, AirPods Max was last year. That doesn't count. And of course, the new MacBook Pros, which are like the fastest silicon Apple's ever made, and the best displays they've ever made. So it was a pretty solid year.
And we
I
said
would
we
say.
were going to finish the season finale with Nick turning to the dark side and getting his
Right.
MacBook Pro.
So I was on Apple's website today looking at a MacBook Pro. The one I want won't deliver until February 24th.
You guys wait too
So a
long.
little bit of a wait.
Yeah, no. I'm not giving Apple
thought you were
$5,000
waiting
not
too
to get
long.
a computer for 2 months. Sorry.
We had like 4 episodes of asking Randy what he was going to buy
I
after the
knew
event.
I was going to make my purchase and time it where it would have been before Christmas. I didn't think I was going to get it so quickly, but
Yeah, that was fast.
yeah. I waited, I waited on the MacBook. I was going to wait on the Series 7, but once I saw the green, I'm like, done. Got it. But
No question.
No questions. I kind of waited a little bit with iPhone.
Oh, that's true. Well, you bought like 4.
I did, and then I kind of wrote it out. You know what's interesting? I feel myself changing as an Apple sheep this year, and not in the sense that
Me too.
I'm not a less than, but my mindset has changed on my criteria of. Like, let me say it like this: I could be excited about the keynotes and the presentations and be like, "Woo, this is fun," but there was more things that I was like, I'll wait, and the only thing that was no, I'm gonna do this regardless was the long-awaited MacBook Pro, and we had the stopgap, and I think that happened during this season as well. That I got the MacBook Air I went from iMac to MacBook Air, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing chip, and I was just hoping for the day that we'd get a beefed up version of that for a Pro. But besides that, nothing was a necessity for me, and I chose to upgrade out of fear, not loyalty. I upgraded. That's a Harry Potter reference. I came for you, my lord. Yes, out of fear, not loyalty. Yeah, that was me upgrading this time, and I decided to just wipe the whole board clean. I kind of made that decision. I guess I would say in September. I definitively like, this will be my clean slate with everything. And I thought even for the iPad for a second, until I saw how great the MacBook was, and I was like, I don't really need the iPad. So I'm not refreshing the iPad because it just doesn't meet the criteria for what I need.
2021, the year the iPad died.
It is.
Honestly.
This was it.
This is now going to be the year where I'm going to wait, like really wait. The phone, I hesitate to sell the 12 mini still sometimes just because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this phone. I finally got the feature that I wanted for a phone, and I could technically get it with the 13 mini, but I actually like the color, I like the size, I like the stainless steel and the promotion for what it is. So future-proofing it that way and giving it headspace with LiDAR, whatever the hell that'll be used for one day.
One day when they find a use for LiDAR.
Yeah.
In iOS 17.
Yeah, I think this is like, I'm happy. Like I'm as an Apple sheep, I'm happy. I got everything I wanted, with the exception of the rumored, and I'm sure we'll talk about it shortly, and I'll let you guys recap right now. But with the exception of a a matched display, external display to go with the MacBook. I got everything that I wanted this year, and I don't. I really the only thing I needed was the Mac. The phone's great, and the watch was a cool improvement. But like now, that was just me. Like this was the year I spent all these thousands of dollars. Yep. I'm not saying I won't upgrade. I just don't. I don't have. I felt that drive literally. It just left. It just. I got everything. I like the software.
Everything.
I like the software on all the devices that I use.
You even got your portrait mode video, which I didn't think was going to happen.
That's the thing. Like, I'm so content. I filmed this video that I'm still editing right now because then I got caught up watching Spider-Man movies. But I'm just using that as like a cool. I'm just happy. I'm a happy customer. Apple made me extremely
good.
Just content with everything this year. So it'd be nice to get the display version of our MacBooks and maybe updated AirPods. But all that's like, look, I'm getting by just fine improvising. I'm using my 3-in-1 display. I'm getting by just fine. None of it's a deal breaker anymore. I was like, this needs to have it or I'm not going to upgrade. But like all that's gone. I'm at peace. I've reached nirvana. I'm good.
He's good. Nick, you agreed with me when I said this is the year the iPad died.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on that?
It is so sad because this year actually is the year that I sold my 4th gen 1 terabyte iPad Pro and sold the Magic Keyboard and went back to the 3rd gen iPad Pro. It was kind of a
bent one?
Crazy. What?
Is this the one that was bent?
I'm still using one that's bent. Yes, it's still bent. But to be honest, I don't use it that much because Apple killed iPad OS like Microsoft could. Like Microsoft's perfect plan to kill the iPad was literally what Apple just did. Just ignore the software features. Like that's all that Bill Gates and whoever else were sitting around at the Microsoft conference table saying, how can we kill off iPad? Well, just have Apple ignore the software for a decade. And that's what Apple did. It's honestly really sad though, because I did love the using the iPad every day. And I use the iPad right now, like maybe once a week to like take a note or something, like write something with a pen. Like rarely, most of the time I pick it up and it's not charged. Like that's how it dies. Like I don't use it. And it's so sad because the iPad was my favorite Apple device and it still is, but the software just kills it. And unfortunately, everything I do needs to be in macOS, and iPad doesn't support any of the features that I need it to. I tried with the iPad mini. The iPad mini was probably a runner-up for one of my favorite products this year, was the iPad mini, because it was that device that was my favorite form factor. It had the size that I wanted. It was very palmable, just a very familiar feeling. It was just a gorgeous little device, but again, the software just wrecks the experience. It's just not able to do anything professionally or anything hardcore or heavy duty. It's all lightweight, single-use, single-purpose stuff, and unfortunately, that's not how I work. And Apple lost my money on that. You know, I would have bought, what are we on, 5th gen iPad Pro, the one with the mini LED? I probably would have bought one of those in the 1 or 2 terabyte configuration if they had macOS, a macOS-like controllability. Instead of buying this MacBook Pro, I would have put that money into a mini LED iPad Pro, for sure. And it's just so sad that I didn't, because Apple lost out on that. And instead, I got a refurbished MacBook Pro 13-inch M1, which, by the way, is still the best MacBook Pro ever made, because it has a touch bar and an M1 chip.
Is the touch bar in the room with you right now?
Objectively false. Everything that you said. That is objectively false.
Look at this touch bar.
Objectively.
Look at that little touch bar. Ain't it cute? I know you guys can't see it.
I'll take your word for it.
It's cute. It's beautiful.
I think I was most disappointed by going into quadruple UDC this year thinking iPadOS needs to be the main focus. I was like, iOS is fine. There's some minor things I want changed, but overall it's fine. And then macOS, I didn't have much in mind either. I was like, you know, it's already very capable. And of course, it's Apple, so it's going to be locked down. I get that. But same with watchOS. Is like, it's already the best watch. It's already number one watch in the world. Like, there's not really much more. But between all of these different software platforms, iPadOS is in desperate need of re-engineering, retooling, giving it more practicality, more functionality. And then we watched the event, and it took 5 minutes for them to cover all the changes. And it's mostly just a bunch of stuff from iOS is now also on iPadOS. That was like all the attention it got, and it felt like it didn't need it. And yeah, I love iOS. I still love watchOS and macOS. They all did a decent job with all the rest of the platforms, and they gave them lots of screen time. Although, by far, I was most excited for Monterey for universal control, and we still don't have that. So I honestly don't notice a difference in Monterey. Like, I've switched my iMac Pro over to it. Of course, my MacBook Pro has it, and I'm trying to remind myself, what did they change in Monterey? And then I was like, oh yeah, the Safari redesign, which in one of the public builds they turned off. And then I just found out yesterday you can switch it back to the design they introduced, which I liked. So
I love the new design of Safari.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
I know there were people upset by it, but I didn't know you could turn it back on. I just thought, oh, I guess Apple abandoned that.
The fact that Apple...
Out of all the things that Apple adjusted because of feedback, I'm surprised that they ignored Siri so much on, like, when you ask it a question and then being able to interact, like, instead of it hijack the whole screen and then it's right there. Like, if Siri just popped up, and I tried doing this. This is actually what I find myself using Siri a lot. I'll do quick number crunching, and I wish I could just... When I get the answer, I could just hold it and copy that number over to my spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Stuff like that. I've put a lot of thought into the things I would like to see updated with Siri, and I've done the feedbacks. I was running the beta on the 11 Pro, and I would send feedbacks like, I would like to see this thing. I'm asking Siri.
I've never done that. I've never filed a feedback thing.
I think. Yeah, Scott said that. He did that. I was like, I'm glad to see that. I'm not the only... Like, I did it because one time my feedback, I am confident, got inputted into something so long ago. And it was so small and it was frustrating. And I just... One of my big... I was always running betas on the main phone before. And I would always like... Just tell Siri to answer the phone on speaker. If I'm doing voiceless, hello, you... Answer on speaker. Call so and so on speaker. It was not a feature until I think iOS 9. I think maybe 10. Either way, I was like, if Siri just do this, if it's gonna be hands off, then let me be hands off with it. I don't want to go. Hang on a second. I'm doing dishes. Wait, gotta do it with my nose or dry a finger or something. I'll just tell Siri to hey, go on speaker, and then it finally happened. And I don't know if it was, literally just my feedback, but the fact that I felt like I added to it, and now we have a podcast, so add, copy, and paste to Siri. The way at least I use Siri is like, again, quick number crunching is the most common one, or doing smart home control, or doing like a quick, like, how do you spell this? I'll just say the word and see what it says.
Oh yeah,
I do that a lot. If people are listening to us talk to Siri, you're just gonna hear me be like, aluminium, aluminum. Okay, it's spelled the same. Like that's the memos Apple's getting from me.
Mine is all to Google, and it's all me saying stop. Just keeps playing. We have one in the bathroom and one in the kitchen. And last night, I wanted it to play a song.
I'm so sorry.
In the bathroom, because I was in there. So it's like, play this. And the one in the kitchen starts playing it. And the one in the bathroom's like, sorry, I didn't get that. And then starts playing. I was like, how is the one that's further away in a different room hearing me correctly, and the one 2 feet away is getting it wrong?
It's the
internet. I don't understand that algorithm.
No, it's HomePod Mini as well. I will be in this office talking to my iPad or my computer or phone, and I'll say, turn off my studio lights. And HomePod Mini in the background, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble connecting to the thing. Check your Wi-Fi. I'm like, shut up! Like, it's not even the closest HomePod that's talking to me. It's the one that's furthest down the hall. And I'm like, shut up, I'm not talking to you. Like, I'll see Siri come on for the Mac, for the iPad, for my phone, for my watch, and then all four just go, bloop. And then HomePod Mini takes over. I'm like, no. So
See, this is what eye tracking would be so useful for with AR. If they just had a way of detecting which speaker you were talking to, and then you could look at one and be like, no, not you. And then you wouldn't have to specify which speaker, because that's a running issue we have. Well, small house problems. Maybe if we had a giant house, this wouldn't be as big a problem. But everything's connected and too close together. Everything can hear each other. But yeah, I've noticed Apple has done extremely well financially, and they have not paid much attention to their digital assistant. To me, that says something about digital assistants and how useful they are.
I don't disagree.
It's
Very
like
fair.
the company that's put the biggest emphasis on it has not done incredibly well. I mean, they do well with search, but I don't think it's all speakers. I think it's mostly just people searching.
This makes me worried about these AR glasses one day, because they're gonna be voiceover. Like, you got this hands-free experience is trash. I don't like it. It's not natural how you talk. Every time I have to say something, I gotta say hello, Cyrus. I really don't want to set off any of my devices, so that's why I'm being careful. You know, it's this hands-free movement is moving like you're driving hands-free. Not good.
So, I think I was actually just thinking about this last night, because I have 4 HomePod Minis, two in a pair, and so I have 3 HomePods around the house here, and they're all always talking over each other, just like you were describing, Randy. You say something at my desk. I'm sitting at my desk with the orange HomePods back there, and I say, play this music, and then the one in the bathroom starts like, okay, now playing, and I'm like, you are like way
How?
over there. How? Why? I'm right here. It's crazy. But last night, because of all of the talking over with the Hello Siri thing, I've actually turned off the Hello Siri function on my phone, because I noticed 9 times out of 10 I had an AirPod in my ear, and so when I'd be trying to talk to the HomePod to do something, it would pick up on my AirPod instead of the HomePod. And so I had to turn that off, and I was like, why did I turn that off? And it's because Siri lives on each device. There's a Siri in my iPhone. There's a Siri in my Apple Watch. There's a Siri in my MacBook, which, by the way, the touch bar has a beautiful Siri button that I can just click right there and talk to that Siri at any point in time. Each one of my HomePods has a Siri living in it. And it's like, what we need is just one iCloud-based Siri that I can talk to any of my devices. Because you know how frustrating it is to say to my phone, back when I had the Hello Siri thing on, hello Siri, open up the camera. And then my HomePod picks it up in the other room, and it's like, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. It's like,
I don't have a camera.
I'm sorry, but I'm unable to do that.
You're going to have to do that on your phone. I'm talking on my phone.
Exactly, right? It's kind of crazy that it doesn't pick up on that kind of stuff. And so if it could have some kind of global kind of Siri where it's just, I talk to my phone.
It's like a groundhog.
It does work this way. I can talk to my phone to control my HomePods. I can say, play, I don't know, "Baby" by Justin Bieber in the living room.
That's the one you choose.
That's the one I choose. I was trying to think something.
You have an artist on the podcast, and you
I'm
chose
so offended. I literally wrote a song that's copyright free for you, Nick, and you say "Baby" by Justin Bieber. Friendship over.
I was trying to think of the most disliked video on YouTube, and then I remembered we can't look at the dislikes anymore. So
we have an artist on the podcast. I get like 3 views. It is not liked.
He was like trying to think of an example.
No, but you can control the HomePods from your phone, which is smart. But I also want to control my phone from the HomePods. Like, I would love to be able to tell my Siri, my phone is in my hand or whatever, and I want to use the flashlight, and I'm too lazy to click the screen to do the flashlight. And since I have hello Siri turned off on the phone, I would love to be able to tell my HomePod, hello Siri, turn on the flashlight on my iPhone. There's no reason why she shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, if Siri can do it on the phone, Siri should be able to do it.
Yeah.
If Siri can start an exercise on my Apple Watch, I should be able to start an exercise via my iPhone through the Apple Watch with Siri. Siri should be able to do everything everywhere. And I'm sorry, I'll stop.
If Justin Bieber's walking by and you want to take a picture, you want to be able to tell your HomePod, open the camera app. That's what you're saying.
Obviously, when
If
I
I
did
was
that,
your
it would open it
boyfriend,
up
I'll
on
never
my
let you
phone.
go. No, 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 no. I just assumed that's his
Never
name.
say never.
No, I mean, if I ever see, Kanye or whatever walking around, I'll just be like, open up the camera app, and it will open up the camera app. It's like, wow, that's amazing. That's how it should work.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeezy.
To take that selfie.
Yeah. I got the
The Taylor
flow.
Tech Podcast.
I got the flow for the
Have you guys seen those deep fake voice Kanye videos?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
They had one where he did a green screen After Effects tutorial. It was pretty funny. I'll send you that one later. Just look up
thank you.
Kanye West gives a green screen After Effects tutorial.
There's one I saw. I think it was like on TikTok or something. He was showing how to make spaghetti or something. You get the spaghetti and you feel it in me, and it's just. It was weird. And I was like, "What the?" It's great.
We have to pick
Yeezy.
a product of the year.
Product of the year.
So hold on. Before we do that, we need to talk about last year's product of the year. I recall
What
I
was
gave
it?
product of the year to the 20-watt Anchor charger that was the same size
Oh, yeah.
as the
Wow.
5-watt one.
Wow.
And I still,
You know what's
every time-
ironic
Every
is-
time I use it, I have like 8 of them. Every time I use one, I think, I'm glad I gave this product of the year.
Wow.
I think yours has aged better because I think
Yeah.
I gave it to the Magic Keyboard case, which I've sold and I don't have anymore. I sold my product of the year.
I think I gave mine to the M1 chip, the Mac.
You didn't have one yet, did you? I think
I
yours
didn't
That's
have to.
fair.
We were just talking about what the product of the year was.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
The-
one of
the
ours
Magic
didn't age
Keyboard.
very well.
Both y'all, well, Drew definitely did not age well. That sour milk, like it was the keyboard that I no longer
Well,
have.
last year wasn't that great. I feel like not much happened
And
last
how much
year.
do we have to keep blaming it on the COVID? Because I don't think I think that's like that. You could have fixed iPad this year and you didn't.
You can blame it on whatever you want. It doesn't change what I think what I think of the products. I guess the M1s were pretty cool. I think we were all tempted to give it to the M1 Mac Mini because we at least did
Yeah.
like 9 episodes just around that computer. I think just about how
I'm
good
still
it
in
is.
At
awe.
least 9 episodes around the MacBook Pro.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm still in awe.
So
if it wasn't the Mac for me because it would have been too obvious, I might have given it to the Mini, the iPhone Mini for its
the 12
compact.
Oh yeah,
For
Mini
its-
was cool.
That was fun. It's still fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time letting that phone go.
I'm
We all have the
disappointed
same
that.
phone. Good times.
Right, that's right. I'm disappointed that now it sounds like they're not doing a Mini next year, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad it was a thing, and
You know-
they gave it an honest try.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Out of respect to our show, though, I will still indulge. But part of this whole, I'm maturing as an Apple sheep. I have lost all interests in leaks, and I'm not following iPhone 14. I almost.
Well, that's a good one to not
successful.
follow. I
I'm
think.
putting my foot down. Not because of what happened with the Series 7. Not because of, MacBooks come in and dubbed up. Or I don't care about that. It's just, there's something magical about being surprised. And it's a choice to spoil it. And if I don't spoil movies and I have that awe and wonder, I want to kind of feel that again, just to appreciate the art, the craft of it, because it doesn't change anything. And I think maybe that mindset is because I have no intention of upgrading. So let the presentation speak for itself. I'm not interested in leaks the same way. That doesn't mean that I know you'll follow it a lot more closely, Drew. And if you got thoughts, I'm more than interested to have those conversations. But I'm not gonna actively look at renders anymore. I'm not going to look at what iMore or 9 to 5 or any of these articles are going to talk about it anymore, just because I want to appreciate the presentation for what it is on its own merit. And I feel bad that people like Nic and people I know like Nic who are not happy with the Series 7 because of an expectation that was forced in everyone's head. And it's not a single person's fault. All these leakers, credible leakers, all got it wrong. So I just feel bad for that letdown. I'm happy as I'll ever be, so I'm like, cool. But I still, there's an empathy there that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to live life in the ignorant side next year and see how that plays out. Just to be like, wow, what's that? That's cool. So.
What were you going to say, Nic?
Yeah. As far as product of the year this year, I think for me, I really don't have one. And
what?
Okay, I'm just anything but 24-inch iMac. That's how I feel. As long as you don't say
man,
that.
that's what I was going to give it.
I think the more time that has gone by, the more I've come to realize that is a compromised design in a few ways, mostly the white bezels. But
And it's ugly.
It's not as ugly as the MacBook Pro, but it is on the spectrum.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
How can you say something so right and so wrong at the same time?
I'm a walking dichotomy.
I can agree with you with so much and then completely be like, you're disrespecting my Mac, and I gotta grab you. I'm gonna put my hands on you.
This is my identity now.
This is my identity.
You attack this, you attack me.
And no one makes me bleed my own blood.
So my reasoning.
How about AirTags?
For not I don't know, not really AirTags. I think I've only used those once, unironically.
That was this year.
That was this year. Wow, that was a long time ago. I think if I were
I've still not run into a situation where I needed them, but
yeah,
that's because you're
they're
responsible.
Cool. Yeah, I still like them.
Okay.
I think if I had to give an award
Products.
to the purchase that I use most and appreciate most this year, it would probably be on one of my camera lenses or one of my cameras, because I do use those a lot more frequently, and that's really the big shift that's happened in my life the past few months, has been kind of stepping away from technology specifically and going into more camera stuff. And it's sad because I'm perfectly satisfied with my 13-inch MacBook Pro, even though I know the old Apple sheep in me would have been like, Nic, you must have the newest one. And it's like, I'm perfectly content with what my current MacBook Pro can do. And I don't really look back at any purchase from Apple this year. The orange HomePod minis were kind of fun, but I know lots of people hate that color and hate the fact that I like it, but that's okay.
I love that you like it.
I like that. I just don't like the white glass. That's what throws me off.
It is a little weird with the white glass because you can see all of the fingerprints, but whatever. They're orange.
I wish it color matched the HomePod.
That would be so cool.
Instead of use that glass that you wasted on the iMac chin, and instead put those colorful chins onto the top of the HomePod, and it would match. It'd be perfect.
That'd be pretty funny.
Did MagSafe Duo come out this year or last year?
Last year.
Okay.
That was my Christmas present to myself last year. I remember.
Did you wrap it under the tree?
My wife was like, "How much is this?" I was like, "I'm gonna use it every day. I promise. We're gonna use it on trips." And she was like, "Okay, I guess."
You're not wrong.
I still use it every day. I picked up my watch from it and my phone from it this morning.
I find a hard reason. I can't not have it with me now. It has to be everywhere I go. I go to the bathrooms with me.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Wow.
Went to surgery. MagSafe Duo.
I'm going
right
to
to my
read you
hand.
off a list and tell me if I'm forgetting something. AirTags, iPhone 13s, MacBook Pro, iPad Pro, iPad Mini, keyboard with Touch ID, Series 7. That's where I'm at so far.
Siri remote.
Siri remote. I love that thing.
Yeah, that was maybe that should get product of the year.
Oh my god, that's an amazing device. Okay.
No, I can't because it has lightning. I resist.
That is a new rule. All product of the year awards from the Talos of Tech podcast have to have USB-C. Actually, wait a minute. Last year we abided by that rule. Mac Mini, my charger thing, and then Drew's Magic Keyboard all had USB-C. So we need to abide by that.
That's true. Even the keyboard case had USB-C.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Anything else?
I want to keep that tradition going.
Yeah.
I love the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Like, they did everything I wanted and more.
Yeah.
But I can't say, in the grand scheme of iPhone development, it was like a big year.
Yeah.
It was a big year for me, but not the things I care about are not what most people care about. Like, we met up with some friends, and one of them had an iPhone 13, and I was asking them about it. They do not use cinematic mode. I'm sorry. That is not something that gets used outside of our little bubble.
I know.
It's cool.
I know.
And no one noticed the notch, literally. Like, they identified their phone by the camera layout. They were like, I have the new 13 because they moved the cameras here. They didn't. Yeah. They did not care about the notch at all. And so, as much as I was a huge fan of the 13 series, I don't think, if we look at changes year over year with the iPhone lineup, it was that big a deal.
Yeah.
So people always hate on me because you're like, Drew, you always say it's not going to be a big year, and then it ends up being a big year. I'm like, no, I highlight the differences because I'm a tech guy. I notice cinematic mode. I notice ProRes. I notice 120 hertz. Those things all impact me, and I appreciate those things. But the year leading up to the release, I'm always saying there's not that many changes because we're talking about grand scheme of things. The design isn't that different. The functionality isn't that different.
Still like
so that's why I would, yeah. Even if USB-C was on the 13 series, I don't think I would have given it product of the year, just because the fundamental way I use the device wouldn't have changed much.
Okay.
And still hasn't changed much. It's good. It's the best it's ever been. I'm one of those people that doesn't have like a favorite iPhone design. I get that question a lot. Like, about all the iPhones ever released, what's your favorite? I'm like, the last one, the one that just came out. I don't want to go back to the old design with it always. I know everyone's like, the 4 changed the world, and the 4 was the last Steve Jobs. And I was like, yeah,
the 4S. You know what was better?
They both had 30 pin.
That's how technology works.
They both had white bezels. They both had what's it called? No biometric. So that, like, every year I'm like, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah. I don't like hold on to the old one, which I think Steve was that way, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't think he really looked back super fondly at the Apple II all the time. He was always focused on what the next.
He had the design studio destroy prototypes of products after they were pushed. Like,
yeah,
he didn't. There's no, like, when they made that Apple designed by Apple in California book, like the really expensive $300 book that has just pictures of their products. Mm-hmm. They had to go out to private collectors and find these products because Apple didn't just have like a storage cabinet full of old products. Like, they don't, and so they had to like go find.
Can you visualize for a second, like, the iPhone 5 comes out, and then there's some prototype they didn't use, and Johnny Ive is just smashing it with a hammer. He's, like, really calm and collected with this surgical-grade steel hammer, and he's just like... He's like, all done.
We're already working on the iPhone 6, peeps.
It didn't have the right Touch ID sensor.
So I'm not nostalgic like that. I think I'm more like Steve in the sense of, like, as soon as there's a newer thing, I want to switch to that. I want to just focus on that. So I wouldn't give iPhone product of the year, even if it had Type-C. I think I just have to choose MacBook Pro because of how it exceeded all my expectations. And man, the 120 hertz thing was such a cherry on top across everything. Like, going into it, I was like, I'm pumped. I need a laptop, and I'm excited for these new chips. And we're hearing about mini LED and the I/O improvements, and all this stuff is coming. And then at the last minute, Ross Young is like, oh, and also 120 hertz. And I was just like, what? Like, even better. I was like, that was the one thing I could see myself being frustrated I don't have if I buy this MacBook and then they add 120 hertz later. And then he was like, no, yeah, they're doing it this year. And I was like,
I vividly remember your reaction video to that. Like, don't you do that. Don't you give me hope. I will never forget. Yeah. You were very passionate about it. I will go against the grain and pick a different product just to make it interesting. And I can actually make a case for it. Product of the year.
AirTag.
No. Would be the Siri remote. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That's not a bad choice. If
I almost said iMac
lightning.
just to screw with you, but no, I will
would be
give
upset.
it. I will stand behind. This will be the hill I die on since you took the MacBook Pro. iPad Mini fundamentally changes everything. How I was using that thing. Choice. Out of all the devices I went to go return to Apple, that was the one I was holding on to, and I was like, I can make a case for it. And the only reason I didn't was because I already bought the keyboard and everything else for the Pro. And if I wanted to be smart with my money, stick with what you already paid off. And even if it was $700-800, I could not. It was really hard.
I don't want a mortgage on my iPad Mini.
I did not want to let that product go either. I love Starlight. That's a great color. I'm happy I picked. It's a beautiful color, and it reminds me of Nic's 12 Mini that he had, and it's the perfect blend of white and gold. It was clean, and I do notice 60 hertz as opposed to 120, and it didn't change.
That was the biggest thing for me. I couldn't get past that.
Would that have pushed you to keep it? Would you be like, all right, I'm going to keep it? It has promotion.
I'm lying, but yes, that totally would have. That totally. I think the hardest part was I picked up the new iPad and the new iPhone at the same time, and as soon as I picked up the new iPhone, it was the first time I had an iOS device that could fit in my pocket with 120 hertz, and I noticed it instantly. And I think it even was more noticeable because of the OLED response times being super fast. It felt even faster than my iPad. So I was using that a lot, and I was loving it. I was just like, oh my god, this is so smooth. This is what I wanted last year. This is so nice to finally have. And then I was like, okay, this is great. I love it. And then let me also review the new iPad. And I picked that up. And I've had iPads with 120 hertz for over 4 years now. Like my 2017 Pro that my wife uses still has 120 hertz. So I've just gotten so accustomed to that form factor and that screen size being 120 that as soon as I picked up something that didn't have it, and I didn't review the Air. You know, I never reviewed the Air when it came out, and I didn't review the budget iPads recently. I think I reviewed one in the Attic days, but not since then. So that was the first iPad I had bought in years that didn't have 120 hertz, and I noticed it very, very quickly. I didn't notice the Jellygate crap until people started pointing it out, and then I was like, yeah, I guess it's a little behind, but the bigger issue than Jellygate was just the 60 hertz, and I was coming in close to everything supporting ProMotion at that point, so I was like, Touch ID on the iPad is not that bad. Like, I thought it would be more of a compromise. It's actually pretty nice. Like, you can jump straight to the home screen without having to swipe up, and I got used to it. I still think Face ID is better, but I was like, I could live with this if it was 120. I think I could take the loss of Face ID. I don't think that matters on an iPad as much as I thought.
Right.
But yeah, that's the shame thing though, because 120 hertz is currently a Pro feature, and I'm not sure if they're ever going to bring it to the Mini anytime soon. I mean, iPad Minis already don't get upgraded that often.
If they would give the device like Mini LED or OLED, I would be a happy medium, even if it's 60 hertz. But I think, like everyone said, we still need a Pro Mini. That's what we really need. Yeah.
It's all the same specs shrunk down.
Yeah. Do what you did to the iPhone 13 Mini. You know, it's Pro and everything but a name, really. And I don't know. I never held a Mini like that, and doing everything with one hand and using the Apple Pencil and just having fun every time I picked it up for real work purposes too was refreshing. Because honestly, the iPad Pro that I have now, you know, it's no different than you guys. I'll use it for FaceTime. Specifically, even then, I've actually moved to my MacBook Pro. The only reason this is so trivial, but I'm being honest. The only reason why I use the iPad Pro for FaceTime sometimes is if I'm talking
iPod Pro.
iPod Pro.
I want an
It's a new product.
iPad Pro is I'm FaceTiming like my brother, and we're playing a video game online together. And if I want to show him something, I could just turn the camera around. And the the MacBook
nice. Pro
can't do that. So it's just quicker for me to turn my camera around. I was like, hey, here's Kika. I'll do all that stuff. But that's about it. It's such a back seat thing for me now. And I mean, very literally, it's right over here. It's
literally back seat.
It's out of sight, out of mind. Up here, I have my MacBook Air because I'm going to prep for that to be sold. MacBook Pro, the star show of it all, and the phone. And honestly, iPad Mini though was such a breath of fresh air because it wasn't trying to be something more than what an iPad is with the operating system.
Yes. That form factor iPad OS is optimized for.
And I would say because they didn't do the software right, that's why it's perfect for the iPad Mini, because it's not trying to be a pro device, which I would segue into biggest bust of the year was this year's iPad Pro. How are you going to put an M1 chip in there and have iPad OS still be
like, hello?
Yeah. It's nothing. Like it's like you said, just upgrades.
They changed nothing and gave it like insane amount of power,
iOS
which I don't want to take away from the
year.
point that the A12X was already super powerful. It was already not utilized very much, and the third-party apps are trying their hardest, but then Apple's like, even more.
All you did was give software that was already on iPhone last year. That's it. That's literally it. There was nothing new. You can't even say that universal control is the thing because we're not going to see that until rumored spring now. So lovely. By the time we're back with the new season and well into our motion again, it still will not have been out by then.
Wow. That's an interesting prediction. Ooh. Will universal control be out by the time we return?
I'm using it right now, guys. I don't know why y'all left the beta, but I'm using it right now.
I was never on it.
I know.
I wasn't on it either.
I literally have not updated either of these two computers in 4 or 5 months, and every single morning both computers are like, you need to update, this beta's unsigned. I'm like,
Nick is such a loyalist. Once he gets the
I'm
right
probably
beta,
the only
he's
person
like,
using this feature at the moment. Like, I've gone through so much.
I think you are.
Like, is it magical?
I think you are.
Is it everything you wanted it to be?
It is. It works perfectly. It's like Apple. It works like I have no. It's a little glitchy, but like I'm controlling a computer from another computer across the room wirelessly without even having to like configure it or anything. It just works. It's like, wow, this is amazing.
Did you have to enter terminal commands for it to work?
No. I was on the one beta. I think it was beta 4 or something, where it just worked. And it still just works.
Wow.
That's funny.
I wonder what changed. I don't get it.
No idea. Probably some security feature. I'm sure, the NSA is watching all my commands or something.
Well, of course.
Oh, Nick, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's how Randy knows when I create new Twitter accounts. Okay.
Apple's devices are completely private and secure until you start controlling the mouse of another one. Yes. That's what breaks down all of the encryption. Then it stops working after
one
that.
Bluetooth device that's talking to the network. Yeah.
But to tie into what Randy mentioned earlier about, leaks and expectations and stuff, I, for some reason, have found a way I can appreciate the presentation for what it is, and I can appreciate the new products knowing what people thought they were going to be or what they would and wouldn't have. I take joy in finding out what we got wrong a lot of the time. I find that fun, and I still get excited before the event. It's not like, well, I already know everything, so I don't really need to watch this. It's like, no, it's still seeing Apple's cinematography and seeing how they announce things, and there's always some stuff we get wrong, which is what's kind of made it more fun for me. I think it would be less fun if the leakers were right all the time.
I think that arrogance that you were mocking right there, I think that's what it is. Like there's this sense of like entitlement and self-righteousness of some capacity that it's just got really old really quick. And
we already know this. It's like, no, you don't. Yeah. As we saw, we thought we knew everything.
Yeah.
Like people were referencing unconfirmed leaks as if they were confirmed, which made me laugh.
Just because you put confirmed in the title doesn't make it confirmed.
I already showed you guys everything, so why even watch it? And then we watch it and it's completely different. It's like, oh, that's why we watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Series 7, of course, was not what anybody expected, but it was better in my view. I know not everybody agrees with me on that, but I looked at the renders. I looked at all the concept art of what everyone thought it was going to be and what Apple actually unveiled, and I thought what Apple unveiled was better. I thought it looked cooler. I was like, I am not going to get this display wraparound thing with the squared off design, and the squared off design, it was more about design symmetry than it was the watch actually looking cool. It was more about like we need it to fit in with the iPhone. But the truth is that the iPhone's going to be a different thickness, and I was actually really proud that Apple met with some journalism company and they talked about how much backwards compatibility has been prioritized and how they want every watch band to be compatible. And I was like, wow, how often does Apple care about that kind of thing?
Right.
But they were like, it's been really, really challenging to get the display bigger and keep the band connections the same. And I was like, well, if that's the case and they can't make it much thinner because of these bands, maybe it's not as easy as we think to just, thin it out, which is what I've always said. If you did a squared off Apple Watch, you would have to make it thinner, because if you kept this thickness, it would look way too bricky. It would be way too bulky. And we saw some clone companies come up with watches that were the same thickness but squared off, and I was like, no, that looks ugly. The renders, of course, can cheat because they don't have to engineer anything, so you can make it impossibly thin, and you'll say, oh, that looks better. But even those, like, I think, especially just looking at the Apple Watch icon on the app, that is like this recognizable, iconic look that Apple's been branding the watch with for years, and they've been refining it. There's still, it's even more curved now than it was before. I thought Apple was making that up until I actually looked at someone's SE again, and I was like, oh yeah, they compare it to a 7.
Yeah.
They did bend everything a little bit more. So I believe even less that this was a last minute repackaged effort, because I was like, well, no, you still changed everything.
Yeah.
It's just not the change you were expecting. So that blew my expectations out of the water, and it was more than I realized, and that made me actually want it more. Beforehand, I was like, man, I guess I'll kind of want one to match all my other devices, and then instead, it didn't match my devices, but it looked way cooler, and I was like, dang, you still achieved the purpose of making my old watch look old. And that convinced me. I was like, yeah, now I really, really want that big old screen. And the QWERTY keyboard ended up being way more useful than I expected. To the point now I don't even pick up my phone a lot of the time, because I've gotten really good at swiping on the watch.
Really?
And
Okay.
I have all the text set to the lowest, so I can fit a lot of information on this little screen. Reading texts, checking email. There's like more and more that I find myself. Before I would get a notification and be like, oh, okay, I need to kind of articulate a text here. Let me grab my phone. Now I can just swipe and write out complete sentences fairly quickly. It's like just about as fast as my phone would be. So the leaks didn't ruin it for me. If anything, they made it more surprising, because they were all subverted. But yeah, I think that's an honorable mention. It's just the Series 7 didn't get the credit it deserved.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a good upgrade, but people didn't want to treat it as such because they all wanted, like, seriously, the bigger display and the faster charging and the new input method, but people are like, yeah, but the chassis is still round. I want it to be flat. It's like, what would that have changed? Wouldn't it have changed anything?
Made it more look like I have the new one and everyone else has the old one. That's what it would have changed.
They just
But
all
the
wanted
Apple-
a render
the
that
Apple Watch
probably
is
couldn't
such
exist.
a personal device, though. I don't care what anybody else has. I tell you guys, and for me, I just like that I have the portrait photo thing, and I get to and I just look at it, and it's just a photo of me and my wife on vacation, and it just brings me joy in that moment. And I go like that, and I like to see it on such a display. I don't care if it looks new or not new or whatever. These watches are, so personal and customized to you that, and
The Apple product that's always touching you.
yeah. And there's a bias that I'm getting the green the green one, so that helped
That
too.
too.
But it's a piece. Well, the thing is, like, I was always in a watch wearer, so having a timepiece was always part of the presentation for me, as an accessory of sorts. No different than I switch out what plugs I'm wearing in my ears one day. It's an accessory piece. And now, ever since I got this, I went to the green ones in my. Well, I got the headphones on, but I like to have like matching accent colors and stuff like that. What really irritated me at first was thinking the color was off from the iPhone 13s, but I don't really care. The truth is, it's not a deal breaker for me because the iPhone's in my pocket a lot, and when it's not, it's on the table. It's not like on me the way the watch is on me, and so I'd rather have the green watch on me. And maybe it's just because these are our color choices, but this Pacific blue, no, midnight blue, whatever blue this is, Sierra blue.
Oh, right.
This Sierra blue, I have really became fond of, and it's a good place to put my foot down again, to also be like, I'm cool if we don't upgrade to a new phone, and I'm fine with this color because it's not a boring black or white, and it's not green. I'll get over it. This purple blue tint hue thing, periwinkle blue, is just so pretty. I like it. I just like it, and
I'm glad you like it.
I do like it. But I've liked all the color schemes this year. Where you were fighting, Drew, like, this IMAX are terrible. I'm like, I like all these colors. Like,
I like the colors. I just don't like the
fun.
front. Every angle of the 24-inch iMac is beautiful, except the one that you have to look at it from. I love the back. I love the side. That's all great.
I don't love the iMac anymore because after having the MacBook Pro, now I want more.
You want more what?
I want more motion, fluidity, brightness, pixel density, LED or mini LED or OLED, but mini LED I'll be okay with. I want this device on everything. Put it on my phone. Put it on my watch. Put it in my retinas. I want it. I want it everywhere. I hate using external monitors right now, and I don't want any other iMac anymore. I can appreciate the design for what they are. I don't care about anything else now. There's only pre-MacBook Pro, post-MacBook Pro, and we are no longer looking. Yeah, that's it. And we are not looking back anymore. Times have changed.
Every time I use my iMac Pro, I notice the refresh rate instantly. It's like very noticeable.
Do you get nauseous from the lack of motion? Do you feel sick and disgusted?
I vomit 3 gallons every time. Yeah.
You've been looking great in your weight, by the way. I've noticed that you've been.
Thank you. Looking at 60 hertz displays is an effective weight loss program for me. But yeah, I have tried to sell it. No one wants this thing except my wife, so she's probably going to get some good use out of it soon. It'll just be her little desktop computer. But I think the iMac Pro coming next year might be the first like good iMac that we could actually be interested in. Not necessarily buy, but like if I had to buy an iMac, it would probably be that one. But until then, yes, I would say all the iMacs feel dated after these new MacBook Pros came out.
I'll tell my personal friend Tim Apple to make sure that iMac has a nice white bezel so you're not tempted.
Well, that's okay. That would make the buying decision easier because this is the one thing everyone's like, Drew, you're going to regret the laptop. You're going to wish you bought the desktop. And I'm like, no, but I would slightly regret it if they did no chin, black bezel, and the price was good.
If they don't do a
monitor.
If it
ends up being... What?
And if they don't do a monitor. We need to
have
a monitor.
That would tick me off.
Gosh, could you imagine like a gorgeous iMac? Like absolutely gorgeous, thin bezels all the way around, beautiful display, still thin, maybe a little bit of hump on the back of the M1 Pro, but no monitor to go along with that. I would be so sad.
I feel like they have to with the new Mac Pro. Like, how can you not do a new monitor to go alongside?
It's still a great monitor.
If I don't get rounded corners, I'm going to protest.
You really want rounded corners?
I really want rounded corners. Yes.
The MacBook only has 2.
And I want 4.
And I want 4.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Some people are picky about that. They're like, no, when I'm displaying text. Nah. I could imagine it with rounded corners. It would look fine.
It would look pretty. You know, I just want...
There's probably a software thing you could add on, I bet.
I'm okay with that. Yeah. I just like
I bet there's a Mac app that'll add it.
I would get that. I would use it. I like rounded everything now. But even more so than that, I like the contrast ratio that you get with these displays on the Macs. And I really, really would appreciate that going on every Mac going forward, consumer or pro version of anything. Just having this color contrast and inky blacks and bright displays, and you can really use HDR if you wanted to. True HDR, not the iPhone version of
Yeah.
I mean, like real HDR, the stuff that we saw like at the Apple Store, you know, with the XDR display, stuff like that. I can really, 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 really appreciate, and it's for selfish reasons. I just want everybody. I want that technology or that all this, you know, detail for everybody, and I don't think it will happen because it's like normal people don't care about that stuff, and they're right. But I want it, you know.
I just think Pro Display is due for a refresh. If the MacBooks are getting 120 hertz, why can't the Mac Pro? That would feel weird to me.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, I can understand Apple releasing some laptops and not releasing a monitor along with them because they've done that for 6-7 years now. But releasing a new Apple Silicon Mac Pro without updating the screen that they advertise alongside it, that feels odd. I'd be very confused if they were like, yeah, it's still there. You can buy it.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Do you think hey, I'm pondering my thoughts here. It's not a season finale without my dog scratching at the carpet.
Oh no.
Excuse you.
Another key cameo.
That's it. I'm about to pick her up and bring her over here just to have her stop scratching. You're so cute. Stop
And
it.
she can say goodbye for the year.
Yeah. We'll do it at the end.
Okay.
Do you think the iMac Pro or this what we think is going to be the iMac Pro, do you think it's going to have the same design language as the MacBook Pro, or do you think they're going to really pivot, not necessarily do what they did with the iMac, but maybe have it really stand out as its new thing to prep up what will eventually be everything in line for the Mac Pro? Ultimately, I guess what I'm asking is, it feels like every device is going to look different. What I'm predicting, what I'm suspecting, the MacBook Pros look different from like the M1 MacBook Air, look different from the iMac. And I suspect the MacBook or the iMac Pro or whatever that's going to be is not going to look like this device that we have that I'm using. But it's not going to look like what we had at the beginning of this year either. Am I the only one who thinks that way? I think we're gonna see something even more exciting next year.
Maybe.
That's going to have the grand
Apple
finale
has
of it all.
peaked and we're done with exciting things and everything sucks now.
Never.
Go look at Starships. Bye.
I think it'll look like the 24-inch iMac. I think it'll just, other than the front, I think they'll give it black bezels, but it'll still have a chin, and it'll be gray or silver. It won't be like colorful, because it sounds like what I'm picking apart is the MacBook Airs next year are going to be colorful, but the Pros will keep their muted colors, just like the iPhone line and the iPad line. And then the 24-inch iMac will be colorful, and then the iMac Pro will be muted colors. But it'll still have a flat back. It'll still have that new dock they came up with, and it'll still have a chin, which will hopefully make the decision easier for me, because I'll be like, okay, that doesn't look that cool. But if... and honestly... Well, no. I was going to say, I don't mind the notch on my MacBook Pro because it's not an aspect ratio that video is shot at. So whenever you full screen, it goes away. It's easy to blend in with the menu bar. But if you brought a notch to a 16:9 display, it would be much harder to get rid of, because if you full screened a movie or something, it would still be there. So if they do keep a notch on the iMac Pro, I would want them to tinker the ratio just a little bit so that it doesn't cut in on 16:9. Or it's such a big display you really don't need a notch. You could embed the cameras in a fairly thin way all the way around. Just iPad Pro bezel thickness is plenty on a 27-inch or 30-inch screen. But it would be cool if they tinkered the ratio a little bit, to have a notch and the bezels be as thin as they are on the MacBook Pros, except that thin on a canvas.
That'd be cool.
That large. That would look amazing. People would hate the notch, but I'd be like, yeah, menu bar, it's fine. Just turn it black, whatever. But they probably won't. My prediction is it'll just be one size bezel, similar to the size of the 24-inch iMac bezel, but it'll just be black and bigger. It'll have the mini LED and the 120 hertz, so the specs will be unbeatable, but the design will be It's like okay.
Okay.
It looks kind of like how my current iMac Pro looks from the front. It's just black glass and then a big space gray chin.
So, Drew,
Except
would that
no
be your
logo.
most anticipated Apple product from 2022?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I guess if I can't vote monitor,
That's what
I'd
my
be
vote is.
far
You
more
can't
interested.
because I've already stolen it. I need
Oh,
a
okay.
new monitor.
You've already-
Apple, make a monitor, please. We're desperate. We're begging you. Make a monitor, please. Make it uniform.
Even
and
if they
put
did
the
a-
nice new displays in it with all of the nits and all of the refresh rates, powered off of USB-C, Thunderbolt 4, connected directly into my beautiful M1 13-inch MacBook Pro, and then have it be uniform bezels, please, and not cost
won't work.
$8,000.
You'll need Thunderbolt 4. Thunderbolt 3 won't cut it, Nick.
Okay, whatever.
You'll have to buy a new Mac.
Whatever. I guess I'll make a compromise if the display's actually gorgeous.
I think if the Pro Display XDR refresh comes out, but it's like, $4,000 or whatever, I'd be interested at the LG.
$2,000.
I'd be sold at 2,000. I'd probably be sold at 3,000.
Three?
But
Really? With a stand?
the Ultrafine. I checked out the Pro Display in the store, and I was like, $3,000. I would pay for this thing, and that was with 60 hertz. So if the new one had 120, I'd be like, okay, $3,000. I can justify that. But there's talk that LG might be doing several standalone monitors, and the Pro Display is just the high end one. But if they do a mini LED 120 hertz Ultrafine monitor, the specs would be good enough. I mean, the design might be a little ugly, but if I can save $1,000 or so, I want a 120 hertz monitor that doesn't look like a gamer pool of design trend. And I like the idea of the charging. I would love to do the charging through the USB-C and data all through one port. That's what the last Ultrafines did. And they weren't terribly expensive. I think the 27-inch one was under $2,000. So if the panel was good and the design was fairly minimal, I'd be in the market for that one potentially. But yeah, it would obviously, best case scenario, Apple makes a $2,000 Pro Display XDR with 120 hertz, and it comes with a stand. Oh yes, that would by far be my most anticipated because I would actually see myself buying it. I don't really see a situation where I buy the new iMac Pro. I can't think of one. It's interesting. It'll be cool, especially if the speculators are right and they do like dual M1 Max chips in that thing. That would be insanely powerful. But I'm as interested in it as much as I am the new Mac Pro. It's like I'm not gonna buy it, but it sounds really interesting. Like putting all of that silicon in something so small and so efficient, and how much computational power you'll have in that little box. That's gonna be fun to watch, and I'll probably even review it. But I don't see a need for it just because I want a mobile editing station now, and I'm really glad I was in the market for a laptop now because I keep thinking if I was still on that old train of thought of like I need a desktop and I don't want a laptop, I would be so annoyed that they just did M1 Pro and M1 Max in the laptops, and I would have to wait around for the desktop to show up, and I'd have to keep using my iMac Pro for longer, knowing that these have 120 hertz and knowing that these exist, and I've already gotten a lot done with this
Sounds like
hardware.
my purgatory.
Yeah, if you were like, come on, Apple, I can't buy a laptop, but I need this power. It's kind of what Nick is in right now, I guess.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in Nick's shoes right now.
My shoes, I mean, they
They're
don't really
huge.
smell, but I wouldn't want to be in them either.
Yes. I think I'm gonna keep babying this MacBook and hold on to it as long as I can. Same with my phone, same with my watch. I think I should get less cycles on this with the always on display off, right?
I have no idea.
It's
if
not
you're
using as much
obsessing over
power.
This. I'm sorry.
I am. I know. It's just because I really do plan on holding on to everything I have right now for as long as possible.
That's good.
So I'm like,
Well, then use it as normal, and it'll be a good it'll be a good testament to see how they perform over the years. Then, not.
I just feel like the watch is ending the day at like 60-70%, whereas if I had always on display on, it would end at lower. So
I'll let you know.
True.
I will. When I take off my watch tonight, I will look at the battery, and I will let you know what the
Okay.
percentage is. Because that's a good
I
question.
think it'll last longer.
I don't think I've seen 70%, but I've gotten to like. I feel, and I think I'm off here, but I feel like I got to like 55% at the end of the day. I think that's what it is, but I'll take a look. I haven't actively looked at the battery. I just know I was like, all right, through the day, throw it on the MagSafe and go to bed.
That's true. Oh, something I might end up buying if they do come out with a monitor, or maybe even if they don't, but like a Touch ID Space Gray Magic Keyboard.
Ooh.
That doesn't exist. But if the new iMac Pro comes out, that would be really nice if you were, using your laptop docked or something.
I have gotten close to buying a new keyboard with the Touch ID sensor. Because
Oh, the colorful ones?
I don't want the colorful ones. I've gotten close.
Yeah. That's the only ones.
Yeah, I know. But I all that to say is that I hear you. I know what you're. I'm over here like I dock it and I close the lid, and I like to have my my keyboard closer to me, even when I'm at this desk or we're in the kitchen, whatever. And there's many times where I do need to do some type of authentication. So having the Touch ID sensor is helpful because not every time does it ask me to double click on the watch.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't do that, when I have to do a system override and I have to put in my system password, having the Touch ID would immensely help with that. And I find myself
They'll probably make you get it in the numeric keypad. They won't make a small version of the Space Gray just like the old iMac. That kind of annoyed me. I was like, I don't want all this. I don't need all these. Just,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to cost less. I'm just saying have an option at checkout that's like, give me a little Space Gray keyboard. I like that minimal look of the small ones, but all the small
That's why I
ones
held
are
on
white.
to this for so long because I just like how
Yeah.
it just is. It's old,
Yep.
it's decrepit, but
You know what's better than having a keyboard? Not having a keyboard and being able to control your Mac Mini with your Touch Bar enabled MacBook Pro.
that's ugly. You're ugly. Don't.
You're ugly. So I chose new MacBook Pro. Randy chose iPad Mini 6, and
Yes.
Nick chose a lens of some kind.
Yeah, camera gear. Put it general. There's about
Sounds
20
like an
pieces of
iPhone
camera gear
13
that
to
I'm in
me.
love with.
Camera gear equals iPhone 13. He chose the
It
iPhone 13.
doesn't have USB-C though. Actually, two of my cameras do
true.
have USB-C on them, so maybe that's Zcam
Yeah, mine do.
E2M4. That's my favorite tech gear of the year. There you go. Although I think that was released 2 years
How
ago.
about favorite Apple of the year?
Yeah.
What would you have to
Favorite
choose?
Apple of
iPhone
the year?
for the battery life?
No.
No.
My favorite Apple device of 2021 is the 2018
Orange
iPad
Home.
Pro.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna say. On the subject of the iPads being a massive, the most disappointing thing since my son. I think no one should be spending more than
You mean
that's a
your
Red
daughter,
Letter
Drew?
Media reference. Basically, at this point, if let's say my iPad Pro died on me or was stolen, or someone found it and destroyed it for whatever reason, if I was to buy a new one, because I do use it for video thumbnails and I do use it for media consumption and all the basic stuff, I don't really think anyone should be spending more than like $600 or $700 on iPads now, just because of what the OS is capable of.
Yeah.
And
Or
you
more
can get
appropriately, not capable of.
or not capable of. Yeah, it's like, okay, budget iPad, great deal. That's great value for grandparents, parents, students. People are on a budget and they just want a device that has Apple Pencil support. $300, yeah, that you can't beat that. That's great. iPad Mini is a great form factor. Can fit in your lab coat. You can use it with the new pencil now.
I
love the
lab coats
design
all the time. It's perfect.
Exactly. It's iPad Mini's great. Only issue is the 120 hertz, but that's a pro thing. If I were to replace my iPad Pro because something went wrong with it, I would buy a 2018 11-inch refurbished for $520.
$20. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You'd get 120 hertz. You'd still have Face ID. You still have USB-C. That thing's over 3 years old, and it's still
And it made
a tremendously
Nick's best
good value.
product of 2021.
You should do a whole tweet about that. For this year's best Apple product, we give the certified refurbished 2018 iPad Pro. Just because last year there weren't that many of them.
Yeah.
Now, every time I look, there's some
I was
available.
just looking today. There's $519. 11
Dude,
inch.
I still need an iPad in my ecosystem for work, but I do not need a mini LED. I do not need the M1. I do not need LiDAR. I guess if you care a little bit about having extra RAM, get the 2020 iPad Pros, but even those are 600.
No.
They're not.
No. No.
He's saying no.
Getting
Yeah.
an iPad for the specs is like buying a Ferrari for the ability to hold groceries. Like, no.
That's great.
Wow.
This iPad has more RAM. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
The Roadster sits more than the Bugatti. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's not a good example. It's like you're not buying it for that, but yeah, I mostly agree. I've had 4 gigs of RAM on my iPad for years, and I've never noticed a RAM issue. I've never been like, these apps keep closing in the background. Sometimes I'll not touch my iPad for... Oh, okay, funny story. This happened yesterday. I was using my wife's iPad Pro. I don't know why. It was just in the kitchen, and she was like, can you pull up this show or something? And I heard noises outside, so I was like, let me check the security camera. So I open the cloud camera app on her old iPad, and it's buffering, right? It's not loading the view yet. It's loading the view from our old house. Before we got this place, that was like the preview. So it's like buffering, and it still had stored in there years later. This is the 2017 iPad. It still had that preview of our old yard.
Wow.
And I realized I had never opened that app on this iPad for like 3 years. And it still had the information loaded. And it took a minute. I took a screenshot, and then it took a minute, and then it loaded, and it showed our new front yard. And I was like, wow, that data was just sitting in there for a long time. It was like years and years.
Wow.
And the iPad had like died since then. The battery had gone to 0, and we charged it back up. And it's just mostly been used for web browsing and media consumption. I just hadn't opened that app. It was just sitting there.
How cool
I was
is
like,
that?
Look at our old yard. And I was like looking at the car, and I was looking at
Wow.
the lawn, and I was like, oh, remember when we lived there? That was so cool. And then it buffered away. But
Wow.
it was just weird.
How
That's
cool
crazy.
is
It was like so much has happened since then, and that data was just sitting there. But yeah, if anybody's in the market for an iPad, I'm like, maximum. I don't know why you would need to spend more than $600
No.
total. Maybe you need a little extra storage, but
No one
go
should even have more than
refurbished, and you'll still
256 in storage. Like, this is coming from the guy who bought a terabyte iPad Pro.
yes.
No. Get a Mac.
No.
If you need a terabyte, just get a Mac. Get a Mac.
Yeah, if you're spending that kind of money on an iPad, you're into Mac territory at that point. You're not you're not gonna be saving
Get a
much,
Mac.
but I think that's how I feel. It's like iPads over $600 don't need to exist. They don't
pretty
until
much.
the software changes. But
It's sad.
I would also like because I'm not using my iPad like a laptop anymore, and it's just being used as a tablet. If I was forced to buy a new one, I would give the 11-inch a shot.
Yep.
I would give that a try.
I would as well.
Save
Especially
some
to save
money.
$80. Like, hey, why not?
Yeah.
I will always go smaller with the iPad now.
I will go with the smallest 120 hertz display they have, which is the
iPhone 12 mini.
2018 Pro.
Well, unfortunately, the next iPad has to be the one that replaces your MacBook.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Well, that's on the preface that nothing goes wrong with this one. Assuming.
Yeah. Assuming,
If something goes wrong with that one, and Apple has basically done nothing with iPadOS, which is the most likely outcome, if we 3 years go by and I take this on a trip, and some kid at an airport takes it and go, "Wow, look!" and then he just snaps it in half. That happens,
it's Nick. It's Nick Jr.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. If something went wrong and Apple had changed nothing, I would just get a refurbished $500 iPad Pro. Hopefully the prices are even cheaper by then. That would be cool. If you could get a 2018 Pro for under $500. My God.
I feel so bad for Apple.
I might even.
It's like shooting yourself in the foot.
Really?
And then wondering what happened. It's like,
What happened?
what's going on? Why is my foot bleeding?
No one's buying these new iPads.
Why is this
What the heck?
gun allowed?
Who could
What's going
have done
on?
all these terrible things to the
like-
iPad?
Yeah, that's not true. I bet
fix
there's a
this
crap ton of people buying iPad Pros because they don't know about the certified refurbished page.
Yes. This is true and unfortunate. Everyone.
And they think the M1 chip is going to be much better for them than the A12X.
You fool.
Because I edit pictures sometimes, so I need that extra power.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to use it for Facebook for 5 years.
Because it's the Facebook
FaceTime.
generation
Yeah.
of people who are getting it.
Oh, so this one's better, right? Yes, this one's $1,100, and the display's the best in any iPad. Okay, I guess I should get that one. And then they buy it, and then they text people on it for 7 years, and then they put it in a big OtterBox case, and then it
I love
sits
those, yes.
on a desk, and it never goes anywhere. That's what all the iPad Pros are being sold.
Hypothetically, if Steve Jobs in a different universe that didn't have cancer came to ours and saw
nice.
what happened, and he'd be like, "You've done nothing with the iPad? Well, Steve, it's bigger." Yeah, I get that, but where's the movable widgets that let you interact in live time like Windows? Like, oh well, I mean, we have split view. That's it. And a stylus?
Are you doing like the Joe Rogan bit about you changed nothing?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
I picked up on
I
that.
am. Touche forgetting. It's like, wait, you've done nothing since then?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Steve was also kind of not into the keyboard attachment stuff. He probably would have. I don't doubt he would have made the iPad more capable. I just wonder if he would have pushed the Magic Keyboard case as hard as they are now.
Yeah, I don't think he would have. I think it would have been the perfect 2-in-1, as he said. It needs to be in between an iPhone and a notebook. Boom. And
Right.
so everything that
he
Nick
would
loves,
have done more touch stuff. He would have been like, touchscreen can do everything a Mac can and
The
more.
touch
So
bar
we'll just make that more capable.
concept would have been fully implemented in the iPad in regards to you typing and having all your little features right there. I could see you having the touch bar integration without the Magic Keyboard happening in lifetime. I maybe he would have had these with the bigger screen. You know, I want interactive widgets where I don't have to click it and then bump into the actual app.
Who knows?
Just something.
Who knows?
Something quick.
Steve would have done what I wanted.
He would have done what I wanted.
No, he would have done what I wanted.
Hey, good catch on the Joe Rogan thing, though. I was like, yeah, that's because that's how I feel.
I was like, that sounds just like his bit.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you've done
I know how you
nothing
feel.
since then. Because
You've
the
done nothing?
iPad feels so stagnant.
It does.
We spent the last
is
30 minutes
terrible.
just
We're
pooping
gonna-
on it.
We're going to end the year on a bad joke from Drew, okay?
Okay.
Here it goes.
Go for it.
Here's a quote from Steve Jobs in 2011. We'll add the calculator app when I get back, okay?
Ew. Kiko,
10 years went by.
come here.
Well,
Famous Steve Jobs quote.
We'll add it
Drew,
when I get back.
Randy,
Okay, see you soon.
Kika, it's been a pleasure podcasting with you this year. We'll
What a
fix
great
the
year.
outro when we get back.
Oh.
Do we have... do we want to do final predictions or final thoughts or for next year?
Well, by the time we get back for series, whatever it's going to be, I don't even know
6.
anymore. 6?
Series, whatever.
For a series, whatever. I really wanted to come on today and have fill up the bingo card, but I just got so caught up reflecting. But when we come back, my only prediction is Universal Control will not be around. Right, Mr.
That's a
Bakerforth?
safe bet.
Yeah. It's a sad bet.
I also think air power won't be out. We'll take a wild prediction.
Sorry, Kiko.
And I will not be upgrading my iPhone next year. That's my prediction.
You know, you might do it out of stubbornness, not because it's true. I think if you weren't putting yourself
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think your stubbornness will keep you and purposefully cutting off your own nose. Like, I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to review it, but I'm not going to keep it. And secretly in the back of your mind, you're going to be like...
I'm just trying to think of some... Like, I think I told Nick this at one point. I don't remember if it was on or off the air. But I said, of all the things rumored for next year's iPhone, I think the thing that interests me the most, not camera hole, don't care.
Don't care.
Not even Thunderbolt. I use MagSafe. Even if that's not rumored to come out, but even if it did, I'd be like, eh. Not cinematic mode, because resolution and frame rate doesn't matter if you're shooting with something that's not a dedicated camera. It's an iPhone. Who cares? And I don't use my telephoto lens that much, so I don't care if that improves. Battery life is already insanely good. I don't care about that. Maybe some new color options, but by far, what has my interest the highest? Titanium chassis. That I don't like the fingerprinty steel, and I don't like how heavy it is. And if it was titanium, it would be lighter. So I was like, of all the things that would tempt me to upgrade, I'm not upgrading. But that when I get the phone to review it, will probably be like, oh man, I like this chassis. I like the way it looks. I like the weight. And I'll just be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not willing to spend the money just for that. But... Yeah. Then I'll have to buy a new watch to match it.
That's right.
So no, thank you. No, too much.
Well,
all right.
Ladies
I'll miss you guys.
It's been a good year. 54 episodes deep, less than 52 weeks.
I don't think we're going to get 54 out next year.
I don't think so either. This was a good year, guys.
Well, given how
we're going to retire right after this.
Like, I'll see you guys next time. Famous last words. I feel like I guess I could appropriately say it then here. It's been real. It's been fun. I can't say it's been real fun.
Thanks, Randy.
I could say it's been real fun.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, next year's outro will not have a typo. Congratulations. Bye.
Bye, Kika. Bye.
There was a typo? Bye!